Here in Tasmania, diamond-backed moth can worry some vegetable crops, but not normally canola. However, for canola growers in South Australia's Eyre Peninsula and the southeast of Western Australia, the diamond-backed moth has done serious damage in recent years. Fortunately, this past season, producers were ready. Julian Dowdall's a farmer from the lower Eyre Peninsula growing wheat and canola against the backdrop of the Great Australian Bight. In 2007, diamond-back moth demolished the canola crop at his farm over on the coast. A complete write-off.
They attacked so quickly and so hard that it was very, very difficult to have any measures in place to combat them, and I think that it probably goes back that we just didn't know that they could do so much damage in so short a time. It was just, you know, a 0.8 crop going to just simply sticks in a very, very quick amount of time.
Pretty impressive for a pest that hadn't really been on their radar. And to complicate matters, the moth was already resistant to synthetic pyrethroids, just from being around when previous crops were sprayed for Heliothis.
Not sure, just touch them and they wriggle like crazy. That's the dead giveaway.
Local agronomist Nigel Myers oversaw resistance testing.
We had levels that anywhere from 85 up to 95% resistance to lethal doses of synthetic pyrethroid. From there we knew we had to start looking at different active ingredients for registration for control of diamond-back moth larvae.
An approach to GRDC via the Lower Eyre Agricultural Development Association, and the search began. Finding candidates wasn't a problem. Diamond-back moth is a pest of other brassica crops too, and in the horticulture sector there's a bunch of products registered to do the job. One of them, emamectin, emerged as the one with the best prospects of gaining registration in the shortest time. GRDC got Sardi entomologist Greg Baker onto the job of generating the necessary data for a registration.
Field trials to demonstrate the efficacy of emamectin benzoate as a diamond-back moth insecticide, so those data sets can be provided to the APVMA for registration, and in turn commissioning the residue studies that need to accompany that registration claim.
Going to take a while to get enough data for a full registration, but in the face of a big moth outbreak mid-season in 2011, the data so far was enough for GRDC to seek special consideration. In August 2011, the APVMA signed off on an emergency permit. Within days, aerial operators in the lower Eyre peninsulas were getting very busy. The local farmers were stoked.
It was hugely important because we had this outbreak in July. Some of the agronomists that partner with Leader, they pointed out that we had some high levels of diamond-back moth in July. And if we have high levels in July, by the time we get to September, we have a huge population which could decimate the industry.
With the emergency permit in place, the local resellers were being extra careful to make sure that producers understood how they were permitted to use the product, and particularly the withholding period that applied.
It's 28 days until windrowing, so once a grower has applied the product to the crop, they cannot cut that down for 28 days, and that's one of the things we've stressed.
As it turned out, spraying didn't carry on for long. Cooler weather and a bit of rain did the job of reducing larvae numbers for free, taking the crop right up to the 28-day exclusion period. While everyone had been very happy to have the option to spray, no one was complaining about not needing to. No one's kidding themselves that with one new chemical registration we've got this DBM problem licked. This is, after all, a moth that's already shown that it's very adept at developing resistance.
Diamond-back moth has international notoriety as being one of a handful of insects that has phenomenal capacity to develop insecticide resistance. It's developed resistance to every insecticide that has been registered for its control over the past 50 years and continues to do so.
The moth's life cycle makes it especially tricky to target with a single insecticide.
Unlike, say, your Heliothis, armyworms, where at the time that you're targeting that pest, the entire population are present as caterpillars. With diamond-back moth, you are faced with all stages from egg to adult present in the crop at the time you need to be spraying. and it's only the larvae that are really effectively controlled by the insecticide treatment. So it's a far more challenging pest to get good insecticidal control.
While Greg Baker and his team keep working to provide data for new insecticide registrations, he believes this pest will demand a much cleverer approach.
We can't rely purely on the continual cascade of new chemistry to deal with this pest. It will rely on a much more sophisticated understanding of the ecology and the resistance mechanisms at play.
Having sounded the alarm bells in the first place, the producers of the Eyre Peninsula and their agronomists will be hanging on every development from the research.
I don't know the correct figures of the amount of canola grown in the lower Eyre Peninsula, but I know it's a significant cash crop for many of us, particularly inland, and ongoing work is going to be needed to help alleviate the problem.